ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਇਕ ਓੰਕਾਰ ਸਤਿਨਾਮ ਕਰਤਾ ਪੁਰਖ ਨਿਰਭਉ ਨਿਰਵੈਰ ਅਕਾਲ ਮੂਰਤ ਅਜੂਨੀ ਸੈਭੰ ਗੁਰ ਪ੍ਰਸਾਦਿ ਜਪ ਆਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਜੁਗਾਦਿ ਸੱਚ ਹੈ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਨਾਨਕ ਹੋਸੀ ਵੀ ਸੱਚ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ 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 ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਨਾ ਨਾਹਿਨ ਨਿਰਮਲ ਕਰਨੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ ਕੈ ਅੰਚਲ ਲਾਵਹੁ ਵਿਖਮ ਨਦੀ ਜਾਇ ਤਰਨੀ ਗਿਆਨ ਧਿਆਨ ਕਿਛ ਕਰਮ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਸਾਰ ਨ ਜਾਣਾ ਤੇਰੀ ਸਭ ਤੇ ਵੱਡਾ ਸਤਿਗੁਰ ਨਾਨਕ ਜਿਨ ਕਲ ਰਾਖੀ ਮੇਰੀ तेरे जोर मैं गूंगा कहता हूँ तेरा सदका तेरी शरण
सतनाम श्री वाहिगुरु साहिब जी जे जुग चारे आरजा ऊरद सूणी होए नवा खंडा विच जाणीਐ नाल चलै सब कोय ਚੰਗਾ ਨਾਉ ਰਖਾਇ ਕੈ ਜਸ ਕੀਰਤ ਜਗ ਲੇ ਜੇ ਤਿਸ ਨਦਰ ਨ ਆਵਈ ਤਾ ਬਾਤ ਨ ਪੁੱਛੈ ਕੇ ਕੀਟਾ ਅੰਦਰ ਕੀਟ ਕਰ ਦੋਸੀ ਦੋਸ ਧਰੇ ਨਾਨਕ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਗੁਣ ਕਰੇ ਗੁਣਵੰਤਿਆ ਗੁਣ ਦੇ ਤੇਹਾ ਕੋਇ ਨ ਸੁਝਈ ਜੇ ਤਿਸ ਗੁਣ ਕੋਇ ਕਰੇ ਜੇ ਜੁਗ ਚਾਰੇ ਆਰਜਾ ਊਰਦ ਸੂਣੀ ਹੋਏ।
ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕਾ ਖਾਲਸਾ ਵਾਹਿਗੁਰੂ ਜੀ ਕੀ ਫਤਿਹ। ਧੰਨ ਧੰਨ ਸਤਿਗੁਰੂ ਸਾਹਿਬ ਜੀ ਪਤਿਤ ਪਾਵਨ ਭਗਤ ਵਤਸਲ ਕਿਰਪਾ ਦੇ ਖਜ਼ਾਨੇ ਦੀ ਸਾਜੀ ਨਵਾਜੀ ਸਾਧ ਸੰਗਤ, we're all blessed today. We've come together for the Katha, the discourse, the vichara of Japji Sahib, which is the first Bani of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Last week, which Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explained to the Sikhs, the yogis, the ascetics, that visiting places of pilgrimage is only useful if you follow the command of your Guru. So if your Guru gives you a command, an order, a teaching, there's no point going to those pilgrimages or places of worship, in our cases, let's say, if we are not going to change, if we are not going to take those teachings and put them into our lives so we can develop ourselves spiritually and become morally better people. After hearing that teaching, the Siddhs were still trying to get Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji to convert, if you will, to join their path, to be a teacher, a preacher for their dharam, their faith, for their doctrines. Yogis and ascetics, Siddhs, now the type of yoga they practice with certain chants that they do, using their breath, they develop internal nadiya, and they take breath within the Dasam Dwar. Dasam Dwar is like the 10th gate to our body, and the 10th gate, which is kept secret or kept gupta, which top of our head where we tie our juda underneath our dastar. And what they do within the Dasam Dwar, and when you take your breath within the Dasam Dwar, to a person on the outside, it would look like that you're not breathing, because obviously you've taken your breath within that and you're breathing through that gate, which is a sort of like a spiritual type of realm and a spiritual type of breathing. So you can't actually feel that breath going. And for some people it would look like that person could be like a corpse. It could be like a dead body, because there'd be no movement, because everything's taken within there. And by doing that, the Siddhs, these yogis, used to extend their lives by many, many years, hundreds, thousands of years. Now you may think, how can you extend your life? Well, in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, they teach us that it's actually our number of breaths are written when we come to this world, linked to our karam, which we've talked about, which we've done vichar about in the previous body, of how our karam work and how we come to this world. So the amount of breaths that we are going to take in this life are preordained, they're written as we come to this world. And so the mentality of the Siddhs is that if they take their breath up into the Dasam Dwar, they're not actually using those breaths. Hence, they can live longer, because their body then lasts for longer. And whenever they want to bring it down, they would come back down and join the world, let's say, and travel in the world and do things. And whenever they want to do this type of kirya, they would take their breath into the Dasam Dwar, and then there'd be like a samadhi, like a deep concentration, which they would stay for many, many years, and then come out of that when they want to come out of that again. And what they're saying to Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is, if you join our path, we will teach you how to do that. You will be able to live for many, you'll be able to live longer. You'll be able to live longer. You will be known around the world, because we'll send you out to be our preacher, our teacher, teaching our doctrines, teaching our messages to the world. You will become famous in doing that, and you will get a big following, because you are very clever. Because like I mentioned last time, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, when they originally met these Siddhs, was quite young in age. And so they were very impressed with them, and that's why they wanted to get them to join their path. And they said, you become very famous, you would have a great following, and you can preach our teachings. And it's in this body, the 7th body of Sri Japji Sahib, that Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji gives those Siddhs the answers to their questions.
Satnam Sri Waheguru Sahib Ji, Je Jug Chare Arja, Urd Suni Hoye.
So Tan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji answers that question of, will you join our path? Will you join our path and preach our teachings? And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji answers, Je Jog Chare Arja. Now, we've heard in the past that the world, when Waheguru Ji created it, was created in 4 ages. Satyug, Treta, Dwapar, and now Kaljug. Okay? So those 4 ages come in cycles, over and over, since the beginning of creation. We learned that as part of the Mool Mantar, when we found that God is Ad Sach, true before the ages, Jugad Sach, true at the start of the ages, Hai Bhi Sach, the true in this age of Kaljug, Nanak hosi bhi sach. And Stan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji told us that the Waheguru Ji is going to be true for the age cycles that come afterwards as well, forever, infinitely true. So Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is telling them, Je Jog Jare Arja. Arja means age. Even if your age is the same amount of time as the 4 jugs, the 4 ages. Jare 4, jugs, those ages. Even if your age is that long. Now how long is the age of these jugs? Satyug, it is said that Satyug lasts for just over 1700,000 years. The next age, Treta, lasts for just under 1300,000 years. The next stage after that, Dwapar, lasts for just under 900,000 years, and the age of Kaljug lasts for just over 400,000 years. So if you add those together, you should come to around 4,300,000 years. Just over 4,300,000 years is the ages of the 4 jugs put together. So Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is saying, even if your age is as long as that, Hor Dasuni hoy. Hor, now Dasuni means 10, so times that by 10. So even if it's 10 times the age of the 4 jugs, some will do the vichar that this could also mean, so you have 40 jugs, so we say 4 jugs, times that by 10, that's 40, but some would also say that Hor, so if you've got the 4 jugs already, Hor Dasuni, times 4 by 10 is 40, put those together because that Hor means put those together, so you have 44 jugs, so that 4,300,000 times by 10, add that another 4,300,000, even if your age is that much.
Nava khanda vich jaaniye naal challe sab koi.
Nava khanda vich jaaniye. Vich jaaniye means even if you're known, even if you're famous, Nava khanda vich. Nava means 9, khanda means like, if you want to call them in this day and age, and this is where we learn now, continents. We get taught there are 7 continents of the world. But in those times in India, the divisions of the world were made by 9. There were 9 divisions of the world in previous jugs. There was a king from India that ruled the world in a previous age, in a previous jug. He had 9 sons, and each son was given the command of a division of the world. Like, if we want to use that word, continent. So therefore there was 9 divisions, so 9 continents. So Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is saying, even if you're known, even if you're famous in the 9 divisions of the world, obviously that means all the world, because nowadays we get taught at school that there's 7 continents. The divisions were made by 9 because there was a king of India in a previous age that ruled the world, and he had 9 sons who commanded each division. And that's in fact where the name of India, they call it Bharat or Bharat, and one of his sons was called Bharat, and therefore that's the name of India. That division of the world came from one of his sons actually. So even if you're known, even if you're famous in the 9 divisions of the world, if you're famous the world over, Naal chale sab koi naal, and chale, people follow you, you get so many followers because you're so famous, they believe in you. Even if that happens,
Changa naur khai ka jas kirat jagle.
Changa naur khai ka. So you have a good name in this world. So people, your fame is known, everybody knows your name. Jas kirat jagle. And you obtain a lot of praises from people. So people around the world are praising you. Even if you're that famous. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explained to the Siddhs.
Je tis nadar na avai ta baat na puchhe ke.
Je tis nadar na avai. If you're not blessed, nadar means blessed. Or if you haven't had the kirpa, je tis nadar na avai, if you're not blessed, ta vaat na puche ke, then there will come a time when no one is going to ask about you. So Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji was explaining to the Siddhs who have got this hankar, this ego, that they're all powerful, that they can live forever, or they think they can live forever. And Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explained to them that even if your age is 10 times the age of the 4 jugs, plus the 4 jugs itself, if you have a famous name and you have a following in the world and many heap praises on you, they think you are the one. If you haven't been blessed by a Akal Purkh Waheguru, then that doesn't mean nothing. Doesn't mean nothing. Takes me to a Sakhi at the time of Tan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. When they left Muktsar Sahib, there was where the 40 Shaheeds happened at Sri Muktsar Sahib. And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, blessed by Mahasingh and Ted their Badava, they carried on, the Sikhs and the forge of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, the army, carried on further because around that area there was not much water. And they came to some jungle area, they passed through the jungles and they found a clean bit of land where they could set up. In those days they called it dera, that's what they would call it. So these days we think of dera as completely different. But where Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji or the Gurus would stop, they would set up their dera, they would set up their tents and they would stay there. And on the opposite side of where their tents were, there was like an ashram or a place where yogis or jogis would go, Siddhs would go and practice their yoga. And the Singhs in the army went across there to try and get some water, obviously to feed the army. And when they got there, they met the head yogi there, the head person from that place. And they asked, "Your Sikhs, what have you come here for?" And the Singhs explained that Dan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, after victory in the Muktsar Sahib Jang, has come here and they're just staying across the way there and we've just come to get some water. And the head yogi was thinking, I've heard of this Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. He has waged war on the Mughals, the rulers of India at the time. And he asked the Singhs, how old is Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji? Because if he's your leader, he must have great age, because the Siddhs had this hankar, this ego, that with great age comes experience and comes knowledge. Without great age, there is no knowledge and there's no experience. And the Sikhs replied that Dan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, in that time, their body was 35 years. And the Siddh, the yogi, was really surprised, and he said, in his mind he thought, 35 years? How could he be a leader of all these things? And we're told he's a really spiritual person. He is one with Waheguru. He is in fact the embodiment of Waheguru, as we found earlier, that the 10 Gurus were the Jot of Akal Purkh. How can that be? He's only 35 years. And the Singhs went back with the water, and the Sevadars of the ashram, some of them went with them. And as the Singhs came back, they explained to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji that these are the thoughts of the yogi over there. And Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji said, as I've just mentioned, that these yogis, they take their breath into the Dasamadwar and they live a long life. And they feel that they have got a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge just by doing that, because they've seen many times of the world, many years they've lived. And that Siddh, in fact, was aged 5,120 years as the Sakhi goes. And Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji said that, and the Sevadars heard that Guru Gobind Singh Ji is saying that, these Siddhs, these yogis, take their breath, but they don't get the blessings of Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji, as Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji has already mentioned to the Siddhs. They don't get those blessings. So there's no point doing that, trying to live forever, because one day everybody, every creature, every bit of creation comes to an end, and only Naam and Waheguru is infinite. The Sevadars went back to the ashram and explained this to the yogi, and he was really surprised, because he was shocked how Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, knew his age, but obviously the gurus are antarjamdi, they're knowers of everything. So this yogi walked across to where the dera, the tents of the 10th Guru, Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji was, and all the Sikhs were. At that time, the Rera Sahib was happening, and the yogi came and stood up in the darbar. And when he looked at Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, he felt the blessing. He felt the blessing because he did the darshan of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. Even though he had his ego first, thinking 35 years this person will have no knowledge, when he realized that Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji is the knower of everything because they knew their age, he knew there was something spiritual. So when he came across and he set his eyes on Tan Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, he was blessed instantly. He was liberated instantly. And he fell at the feet of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji at the end of the Rara Sahib part and the Ardas. And he fell at the feet. And he asked Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji to bless them. And Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji blessed them and liberated them on that spot. So, the key here is, even if you're famous, even if your age is that long, even if you're lived for many, many years, even if you've got a great following, even if your name is known the world over, there will come a time, if you are not blessed, that no one will ask about you. Now that Said got blessed by Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. And it showed that if you come to the Sharan of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji and Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, Dasam Padshah Di Jod, you'll be blessed, and that's the only place you can get saved. So, back to this Sakhi, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji said, Jetis nadar na avi. If you're not blessed, there'll come a time when no one's going to ask about you. When it's time to leave this world, we will go from this world and no one will ask about you. Your family members want to quickly cremate you and send you off because they get scared of the dead body. So all those years that our family members are with us and we feel they're loving us, really that love becomes false, because as soon as a family member dies, then the family gets scared because they see a corpse and they think they're going to get haunted. And that happens the world over. It happens to many, many people. But it doesn't necessarily happen to Sikhs or spiritual people, because they understand the hukam of Waheguru, the command how people are born and people die. So they realise that the soul goes. But let's say if you want to use the word manmukh people, or people not following Gurmat, are not spiritual, they'll get really scared, and then all that love that they showed that person all their life, they actually hate that person now. They want to get that body out as quick as possible because they feel the body's now going to come back and haunt them. So that shows that that love is false. So true love can only be with the Guru, who's going to be with us from the start till the end. And when I mean the start, since our soul was sent out of the ocean and put into the 84 lakh June, the 8.4 million lives, and they will be with us until they liberate us. Like I've described many times over, God is the giver of life, the organizer of our life, and the deliverer of our life. The only thing that goes with us, the only person that loves us is Guruji and Akal Purkh Waheguru, because they're with us all the way through. So, Jetis nadar na avi, if you're not blessed, then no one is going to ask about you.
Kita andar keet kar dosi dos tare.
Kita andar keet kar. So, keet means kida, like an ant. And at the start of this pankti, kita, that can be taken, the first translation can be taken as Tediya June, like the really lowest of the low life out of the 8.4 million lives. Kita andar keet kar. So, if you're not blessed, then you go back into the 8.4 million lives and you go to the first June. Now they say the lowest June, the lowest life form is the life of a snake. Bhai Gurdas Ji says in his Vars, in his 33rd Var, in the 33rd Var, the 6th Pauri, Bhai Gurdas Ji explains that the worst life form out of the 8.4 million lives is the life of a snake. Because a snake lives for a long, long time. And the longer a snake lives, the poison inside of it continues to grow. And within it, it has all that poison within its own body. And so snakes live a long, long time, and they can't come out of that June very easily because they are attracted to Maya. Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji tells us, Antbar jo Lashmi simare, aisi chinta meh je mare, sarp joon val val avtare. That means basically on our last days, the last thought we have, if we think of Lakshmi or Maya or money, then we will become the June of a snake. We will become, in the 8.4 million lives, we will become a snake. And we'll become a snake over and over and over and over again. And so snakes are attracted to Maya, and therefore it's very difficult for a snake to come out of its June. That's why it's the lowest June, the lowest 8.4 million life. So if we don't get blessed, that's what happens to us. If we take this further, we can say, as Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib is describing, they're describing somebody who thinks they're very famous. There's a lot of ego being described here in all these panktiyan. It must be somebody who has great ego to think that they can live forever, to think that they're really famous, to think that they've got loads of followers. What happens to them? Well, we can say, Kita, the first Kita, we can translate that to be in a Kida as well. Now what's the biggest Kida? That is a snake. Kita andar Keet kar, dosi dos tare. A Sakhi at the times of Tan Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, the 6th Guru, they were travelling through an area just south of Moga. Moga is the south of Punjab, it's on the south side of Punjab, and an area called Ludaike. Yeah, that's the village where Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji was travelling. Now in that area, there was a lot of jungle in those days, and it is known to have a lot of snakes. A lot of snakes would travel through that area. And as Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji was travelling with their Sikhs, a snake was coming towards them. And Bhai Bidhi Chand, a famous Sikh, a wafadar, a trustworthy Sikh, who brought back Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji's 2 horses that the Mughals had taken, they asked Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji and said, there's a snake coming our way. Shall I pick it up and throw it away, or shall I get rid of it out of your path? And Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji replied, no, it's coming towards our Sharan. In other words, it was coming to find the sanctuary of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. And as the snake came closer, Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji stepped onto the snake and gave the snake its Charan Tood. Guruji's Charan Tood was given to the snake, and the snake burst open. As the snake burst open, a soul, let's say, came out of the snake and hath jod in front of Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji. And the Sikhs were amazed and asked Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji, but who is this person? And Sri Guru Har Gobind Sahib Ji gave the command to that soul to tell his story to the Sikhs. And he explained that he was what we call a Pakhandi, was a false prophet, and he would preach to the people. He became very famous and he had a lot of followers. He was one of these yogis, so he lived a long life. What Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is again describing to these Siddhs, that's worthless. And he lived a long life and he had a great following, and he would take people's money for doing their jobs for them. Now, that practice even happens today, where if somebody has a problem, or they feel they have a problem in their household, they might not have a child, they might have a disease, they might want a better job, they would go to these false prophets and ask them to bless them, to give them what they want, to sort their issues out. These false prophets take lots and lots of money off them in the promise that they would do these things for them. Now, if you say you get 100 people coming and you say this will happen, that will happen, things happen in Guruji's hukam. So they may get a 50% success rate, and those 50% of followers would advertise them or say they did our job for us. So in fact, they just take your money. And there's many followers that don't get their job done and their money's wasted, but they get silenced because the ones who think they've got their job done by these false prophets, but actually it's within their karam anyway, they were going to receive those gifts, they would propagate the false prophet and they get more followers. And this soul said, I was one of those people. And when I passed away, my followers, I had loads of followers, they cried for many days. They kept my body there for many days, crying over me and thinking about me before they cremated my body. And now those followers, they became ants because they thought of that false prophet, the soul at the time, when they died. That false prophet was in their thoughts, that they thought he would be their savior. So they all followed him. He became the snake. They followed him and became ants. Kita andar keet kar. And they became ants because ants live within a lot of animals. They crawl around dogs as well, ants do. And they crawl around a lot of animals. And they were given the life form of smaller creatures within the snake that this soul was. Kita andar keet kar. Kita, the biggest Kita of them all, a snake, under, within, Keet, ants, kar. So, if those followers became those ants within the snake, dosi dos tare. Now, dosi means people with blame on them. Yeah? Those followers had blame on them because they'd gone astray from the true message of Waheguru, and they'd started following this false prophet. So they were known as dosis. They had blame on them, and they dosi dos tare, and then they would blame this yogi for bringing them in this life form because they followed him and becoming ants. Dosi dos tare. So kita andar keet kar. If you become a false prophet, then you become the biggest Kida of them all, which is a snake. If you are one of his followers and you believe he is your savior, and you go away from the teachings of the 10 Gurus, and Dasapad Chandi Jot Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, and the teachings of Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji, who is the true liberator, you will become ants within that snake, and then you being a doshi, a sinner, because you followed him, you would then now lay the blame on him for making you that life. And that's what happens. Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji explained to the Siddhs, Jetis nadar na ave, if you're not blessed, tavat na puchege, no one asks about you. There'll come a time when no one will ask about you. When you leave this world, no one's going to save you. Kita andar keetkar, you become a snake, your followers follow you and become ants within you, and then they will blame you for giving them that life form.
ਨਾਨਕ ਨਿਰਗੁਣ ਗੁਣ ਕਰੇ ਗੁਣਵੰਤਿਆ ਗੁਣ ਦੇ.
Bhagwan Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji is teaching us, if you follow the teachings of Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji, and as Sikhs we follow the teachings of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji and follow their path and try to develop spiritually. Nirgun, Nir means without, Gun means obviously virtues and qualities. He's saying that Waheguru, God, will make us from Nirgun, without any qualities, without any virtues, and give us virtues, give us qualities. So where we may not have the qualities of being truthful, the qualities of being humble, the qualities of being patient, the qualities of having faith, the qualities of having compassion, if we start following those teachings, Waheguru Ji would put those qualities within us. Nirgun gun kare, and also gunvanteya gun de, those of us who are already on the path, gunvanteya, already have some qualities, they will be given more qualities. So if you follow the teachings of Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, you are then given more qualities and more virtues because you're developing spiritually. You're linked to the Naam of Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji.
Teha koe na sujjai, je tis gun koe kare.
And if you're one of these false prophets still, if you think that you're bigger than Waheguru Ji themselves, because a lot of people in this world don't even believe in God. They're what we call Gnostic, that's what that word means, that they don't believe in God. And if you're Astic, you do believe in a creator, you do believe in God. But Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji, at the end of this body, is explaining to the Siddhs, Teha koi na sujji, I can't think of anyone, I don't see anyone in this world, Jetis gun koi kare, that can give God qualities or can bless God. Because it's Waheguru Ji, Guru Nanak Dev Ji explained in the last one, is the giver of all the qualities. Waheguru Ji is the giver of everything. Now the key to this message for us in this body is about ego, hankar. And within hankar, we have to go back into the 8.4 million lives. Now what does hankar mean? What does ego mean? It means that you're self-centered. You think only about yourself. Now some people feel they think about others, but really they're thinking about themselves, because they're not respecting Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So to be without ego is not to just say, I've got no ego, I look down, I'm happy, I don't disrespect anybody, because that's what people think inside their minds. That's not losing your ego, because ultimately, if you want to lose ego, you have to surrender to the will of the Lord and His teachings. And His teachings in Kaljug in this time is from Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, now in the form of the Jot of the 10 Gurus, Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So you don't lose ego just by saying it. You have to surrender to Waheguru, and you have to follow those teachings of the Gurus. Only then, when you surrender, then you can start losing your ego. Now, how do you start losing that ego when you surrender? Well, when you surrender to Waheguru, you'll take the teachings as Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib Ji gave. Naam japo vand ke shoko kirt karo. Repeat the name of the Lord with every breath. Kirt karo, work and lead an honest life. Vand ke shoko, share in everything. And then as the 10 Gurus came, through those 10 Gurus, the teachings continued. So we don't think that a different Guru gave us a different teaching. They are all one and the same. That's why in Gurbani, the Guru's Bani is signed off with Nanak, because it's the same message, it's the same Jot, now in Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. And then in the form of the 10th Guru, Akal Purkh Waheguru Ji gave us the teachings of Khande Bate da Amrit and told us to take that. One day in our lives, we should be aspiring to that. Before we can aspire to that, we have to start keeping the 5 Ks. Now the Shromani, the greatest kakar out of the 5, is the Ks. The Ks. And the Ks was stamped at the time when Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji was Shaheed in Delhi, because the cease of Sri Guru Tegh Bahadur Sahib Ji, the respected head, was brought to Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji. Guruji asked, were there any Sikhs there? Pai Rangreta, Guru ka beta, that's what they were known as when they brought that cease. And they said, I couldn't recognize any Sikhs. Although Sikhs in the times of the previous Gurus also kept their case, it was stamped at the time of Sri Guru Gobind Singh Sahib Ji, because it became a Bajjar Kret that we should not cut any case on our body from the toe of our feet to the top of our head. We should not do biadbi, we should not wax, we should not cut, we should not trim, we should not pluck any case, any hair from our body at all. And that hair is linked to our hankar, because when we start keeping hair, we have to live in this world, and we become humble because of our hair, because we stand out in the crowd, and we have to face a lot of problems in the world where people may take advantage of our roop, of the way we look, and that's all because of the case. So each kakar, each K actually helps fight the Panj Jor. The Kashera helps fight Kam, lust. The Kada helps fight greed, Lobh. The Kanga helps fight more attachment. The Karpan helps fight growth, anger. And the case, the Shromani, the greatest kakar, because that's the kakar we're given from Waheguru when we're born. We're given that gift when we're born. The other 4, as we develop spiritually, we find in the world. And the Panch Pyare then blesses with Khande Bate da Amrit. So the first one we're given as we're born. And that helps us fight against Hankar, ego. Because when we go into the world, we stand out in the crowd and we will be looked upon in a different way. And therefore we have to become humble. We cannot have ego. And then when we start developing spiritually, we come to the Gurdwara. And the way to then continue losing this ego and gaining these virtues, gaining these qualities and developing spiritually, we do Jodi Andi Seva. We clean the shoes of the Saad Sangat. We wash their dishes. Or we do Chaur Sahib over Tan Tan Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji. Doing this Seva helps us become humble as well. And we gain humility. So this is the way that we can develop spiritually and lose our ego. So this body this week was all about I think the teaching that we need to take away is about ego and the Panch Jor, ego especially, and how being famous, being known, having loads of friends, having loads of followers, it's not really going to get us anywhere. Only when we are blessed by Waheguru, blessed by the Panch Pyare, so we can go on this spiritual path and begin our journey, become born again, and we get our case, which then helps fight ego, hankar, that we can gain liberation. That was the teaching this week in the 7th Pauri. Next week, the Siddhs ask Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib to explain how important listening is. And that's the teaching he's going to take away, this 4 Pauriyan to do with the listening. I've said in the past that Guru Nanak Dev Sahib is explaining to the Siddhs that to get to Waheguru, there are 3 stages: to listen, to believe, then to act. So next week, Sri Guru Nanak Dev Sahib starts the first of 4 Pauriyan explaining how important listening is. If this week I've made any mistakes, if I've offended anybody, I beg for forgiveness from the Saad sangat, yourselves, from Akal Purkh Waheguru. I'm just the same as yourselves. I am a Keeda and I don't have that knowledge, but hopefully yourselves and Guru Sahib will bless us all to gain this knowledge of Akal Purkh Waheguru, so we can all be liberated, we can all be saved, we can all become one, we can all be loved. Deho sajjan si shiriyan jo hova sahib se mel.
Nanak nirgun gun kare
Teha gun de teha koe na sujjai je tis gun koe kare. Waheguru ji ka Khalsa, Waheguru ji